Welcome to Hawg Huddle, your weekly opinion-based podcast dedicated to all things Razorbacks. From the highs and lows on the field and court to the biggest stories off of it, we've got you covered. Got a question or topic you want us to tackle? Email us or tweet us your thoughts and we'll bring them into the huddle. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the latest. This is Hawg Huddle. Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of Hawg Huddle. I'm your host, Jesse Thurman. Just something different I wanted to do. I know there's a million Razorback podcasts out there. The amateur field is filled with amateur podcasts. But I feel like I wanted to get my opinions out. So I've created Hawg Huddle. In the future, I'm not opposed to adding a co-host. I'd like to get established, get a little bit of a following, start doing live streams, just different things like that, and interact with the fan base. I'll be commenting a lot on what I hear on other podcasts throughout the state. Hog Twitter, everybody knows how crazy that is. I'll be mentioning that from time to time, and just any ideas the fans send in, you can hit me up on Twitter, my personal Twitter, at Jesse R. Thurman, or on the podcast Twitter, it's at Hawg Huddle, HAWGHUDDLE. I'm also going to be messing around with TikTok a little bit, trying to put some clips on there. If I get video replies on there, I'm not opposed to uploading them into the podcast and having a conversation. One thing I will ask, let's keep it respectful. I know tempers flare when talking about our Hogs, especially lately, and I'll get more into that as we get into football here in a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and start this first podcast off. We're going to touch on the Lady Razorback soccer team. Season ends in the Sweet 16 versus Stanford on penalty kicks. Hate to see it end that way, but again, Coach Hill has his team hosting an NCAA tournament game at home. That's huge. Ava Tankersley will be moving on. She was a graduate. But Coach Hill's returning a lot of talent with some of the younger players we have, especially goalkeeper and a few other positions. And with him setting the standard at Arkansas of, hey, we're going to host NCAA tournament games every year, I feel like he can hit the portal and bring in some more talent to really help build on that team. Sky is the limit for Coach Hill and the Lady Razorback soccer program. I don't have anything bad to say. Wish they could have went a little further, but still great season. Started off hot, maintained. We did lose to Texas in the SEC tournament, but we did go into Austin and take care of business against the dreaded Longhorns. So moving on from soccer, we're going to go ahead and jump over into volleyball. Volleyball team started out red hot this year, and they got cooled off real quick when they hit that SEC conference schedule. You've got two-time defending national champion Texas in the league now. Kentucky's always tough. Just a lot of good teams in the SEC. Really starting to build up and really give the Big Ten a run for their money, because the Big Ten's got some powerhouses. I know last year, shortest girl on one of the teams is taller than me at 6'1". I mean, it's insane the amount of volleyball talent up in the Midwest. But glad to see the SEC building on that, doing good. Coach Watson is losing a lot of seniors this year. Really going to hurt there. We can keep Ramani Thurman. She's only a sophomore this year, so she's got 2 more years she can play. We got some talented freshmen out there. And then add some more younger players, go out to the portal, see what we can do in the portal. We're not going to make postseason this year. That's kind of disappointing after hosting NCAA tournament games last year. But I've got faith in Coach Watson. He'll do he'll do what needs to be done. He's got Jill on staff, former player, pro player now. So a lot of good things on the horizon, I believe, for volleyball. I could be wrong on that, but I'm not losing the faith yet. After that, let's move on to women's basketball. They're 4-5 to start the season. There's really not much to say. Uh, Proud of them for representing the Hog, but this is not a very good team. And from everything I've looked at, Neighbors' buyout this year is 1.5 million. He ain't going nowhere. Looks like a couple more years of bad Neighbors before we see a change there. I believe what I saw, he is contracted through the 27 and 28 season. And with a $1.5 million buyout in a sport that does not generate any revenue whatsoever, because if you've ever watched a women's basketball game, you can't fill the first 10, 15 rows of the lower bowl unless it's Screaming Kids game. I'd love to go out there and support the Lady Razorbacks. I have some other friends who are passionate about women's basketball as well, but when the product on the floor just isn't that good, it's hard to set through it. I mean, we're getting beat by mid-majors. It's not like we've played this ridiculous schedule. Yeah, going out to UCLA was tough. It was about a 50-point beatdown, if I remember right. Not really going to hate on anything there. Not going to critique that very much. UCLA is leaps and bounds ahead of Arkansas when it comes to women's basketball. But started out losing to Fairfield. Just lost yesterday to Bowling Green. It's not been a good road for Neighbors, and the neighborhood's going downhill quickly. Like I said, not going to waste a whole lot of time on women's basketball. If I see something change throughout the season, then I'll talk a little bit more about it. But for right now, there's nothing to talk about. I hate to be that way, but that's just how it is. So let's move on into men's basketball. Started off last week with a 74-point win over a very, very bad Maryland Eastern Shore team. Head up to Kansas City to face off with Illinois on Thanksgiving Day. And my opinion of this game, this was a close game. No, the final score doesn't reflect it, and I'll get to why I think it was a close game. The biggest problem was we spotted Illinois 11 points right off the bat. They started the game on an 11-0 run. Hogs got going, never could quite close that gap, constantly battling. Every time we'd pull within 9 or 8, Illinois go down there and just drain a three on us. They hit 15 threes on the night. Good for 45 points, and we end up losing 90-77. 13-point loss. You take out that 11 at the start of the game, we spotted them. It's a close game all the way through. I've seen some good things out of some players, also seen some bad things out of some players. Got to get Jonas Adu healthy. That's number one. Jonas Adu has got to get healthy. We need him down there. We need solid inside defensive presence, strength in rebounding. Big Z can get down there and block some shots, but his inside defense is going to be night and day different than Jonas Adu's. Big Z's also weak with the ball at times. I'm not trying to hate on Big Z. I really like him. I think the kid's got a lot of talent and got a lot of upside. But when you go up for a rebound and it's getting knocked away from your hands and you're 7'2" and everybody else on the floor is 6'6" or shorter, that's a problem. Arkansas is going to head down to Coral Gables on Tuesday night to take on a struggling Miami team. I hate to go out and say that this is a must-win game for the Hogs this early in the season, but with the morale of our fan base just coming off of football, there again, we'll get more into it as I talk about football. But I just feel like the entire fan base's morale is really at the lowest I can remember Razorback fan morale being. really need to go down there and take care of business. Get that road win. We have not won on the road yet. Exhibition on the road to TCU, we dropped it. Went to Baylor, neutral site game, but we dropped it. Went to Kansas City, dropped it. They can't win outside of Bud Walton right now, and we've got to correct that. But you got to have that win to keep that evil 4-letter word alive for Razorback fans, and that evil 4-letter word is hope. If you watch SEC shorts, you see Hope. She's the crazy woman, and Hope makes fans crazy. So I think they played that perfectly in their ongoing saga of short films they do about the SEC. But if you can get that win next Tuesday, you go to Madison. The following Tuesday, you go to Madison Square Garden, take on Michigan. Good showing there and close out the non-con at home like we need to. I still have faith in this team. I have, after watching the 2 exhibitions and 7 regular season games, I have tempered my expectations a little bit. But I still think this team, with a healthy Jonas Adu, a Nelly Davis that can get out of his head and play like he did against Maryland Eastern Shore, because he can play like that against good competition. He did it all last year at FAU. I don't want to hear the SEC's too much for him. He went to the Final Four. He played some of the best teams in the country last year. But like I said, you get a healthy Jonas Adu, a Nelly Davis that can get out of his head, and Boogie Flan needs to continue to mature at the point guard spot. I think he was forcing it a little bit against Illinois. Did not have a good assist number. I think he was 2 of 7 from the floor or something like that. Not a good shooting night for him. But if he keeps maturing, I still think Boogie's going to be a lottery pick. I think Adu Thero is going to be a lottery pick. And then I think if Jonas Adu gets healthy, gets in there and plays like he played last year, I think he's going to be drafted. So we've got 3 potential NBA players, if not more, on this team as we stand. It was good to see Carter Knox get going against Maryland Eastern Shore. Didn't see much time on the court Thursday from Carter Knox, though. So not sure what was going on there. Coach Cal's a Hall of Famer. I'm not going to question him until he starts giving me a lot of reasons to question him. And he forgot more about basketball last night than I'll ever learn in my life. So I've got to respect the man for that. And he's a solid coach. I know Kentucky fans are saying what they're going to say. Let them talk. We'll settle this February 1st at Rupp Arena. Right now, I don't have much faith for that game. But I think we'll see quite a bit of improvement going down the stretch, especially as we close out non-con play and get ready. If I remember right, we start off SEC play at Thompson Bowling over playing Tennessee. Got to have Jonas Adu healthy for that game. Got to have a standout game against his former team. But conference is going to be no joke this year. We got some good teams in the SEC this year. So now let's get into the elephant in the room. Arkansas Razorback football. A snow game in the SEC? Yeah, you heard that right. We had a snow game in the SEC. Not something you see very often in college football down here in the South. It's usually too warm for all that. But of course, mistakes, turnovers, questionable play calling at times, questionable timeout usage at times. And it's a game that's going to be brought up every year anytime there's cold weather. Oh, y'all remember that snow game in Columbia, Missouri with Arkansas? And Missouri went down to the wire and Missouri batted it away at the last second to prevent the tying touchdown. Yeah, that game's going to be talked about, and Hog fans are on the losing end of it. Reminds me of other games that get talked about quite often. We do have the Miracles on Markham, which are good, but then the highest rated TV broadcast for college football for so long, the shootout in '69, Arkansas falls on the short end of that. Uh, no Arkansas coach seems to be able to find the recipe to win in Como. Not one single Razorback coach has ever went to Como and won a game. And the streak continued this year with Sam sitting in the booth and Coach Petrino and Coach Williams on the sideline. Like I said, don't know what was going on with the timeouts there. Feel like we were preemptively using them. We use a timeout, they get a first down, they run it down to the 2-minute warning. I guess luckily for us, I mean, in the end, we lost, so it wasn't luckily, but Mizzou did score quickly. We had plenty of time. And for whatever reason, we left a timeout in our pocket. Uh, Clock wasn't running, but thinking right there, maybe you want to have a timeout, pull your quarterback over there, talk to Talon. Hey, Talon, look for this. If this ain't there, look for this. Get your offensive lineman. Hey, this is what our protection's going to be when we see this defensive lineup. Be listening for your slides. Give him time. Give him a chance to get it down there. You got Andrew Armstrong, amazing. Tesla, underutilized, but an amazing receiver. And even though he's shown a lot of rock solid hands that can't catch a ball, Tyrone Broden's a big boy. You got to send him in there and send him down there to go up after a jump ball. But in the end, we didn't score. We lost. It is what it is. Am I surprised? No, not at all. Just some notes I wrote down. I'm not a coach, I'm not claiming to be smarter than our coaches, but why did we abandon the run like we did throughout the game? Seems we were second down, third down, fairly manageable position. And Taylor Green throws it behind Andrew Armstrong, drop. Not going to blame Andrew for that. He was reaching completely backwards. I mean, you're playing on snow and ice. Probably a little more hesitant to try to make hard cuts just because no guarantee you're going to keep your footing there. But that really bothered me. Another thing that bothered me is no Braylon Russell. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but Braylon says he's fine. He's on the injury report or the availability report 1 week, then he's off, then he's back on. I'm not sure. Not sure what to think of that. I could sit here and talk to you for hours about football and go through tweets on X and all that, but I want to know what anybody listening has to say. Shoot us an email, tag us on Twitter, on X. Let me know what you think, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time on next week's show. Be a little bit less going on in the Razorback sports world next week, so I'm going to spend some time really talking about interaction I see amongst the fan base, and any interaction y'all give me directly, I'll definitely prioritize that. But at the end of the day, it's a mediocre season. Some folks are happy with it. I'm not. I've made that very clear on social media. So, and I'll make it clear on my show. I am not a supporter of mediocre football. 6-6 should be the basement. I will say this about the situation. I was a 5-7 prediction going into the year. I know there were a lot of 4-8s, 3-9s. And yeah, we did better. We did 6-6. But one of our losses came against a team that it was their last win against a Power 4 school. Oklahoma State did not beat another Power 4 school after they beat us. They went 0-9 in the Big 12. Oklahoma State was horrible. We struggled with UAB, which is ready to fire Trent Dilfer. I think it might be a money issue there. I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but that would be a potential landing spot for Travis Williams, close to home. If he wanted to become a head coach, get some experience, turn that team around, because unless Hugh Freeze performs miracles, Hugh Freeze's time at Auburn is numbered. I agree with a lot of what I've seen on social media with revenue sharing coming in next year. I think a lot of schools are hesitant to change coaches and deal with that. But for some schools, it's worked out. Look at Florida, Billy Napier. Uh, I thought there's no way he's going to win 4 games going into this season with the schedule he had. Well, that schedule changed up a little bit. Florida State ended up being abysmal. Speaking of Florida State, Gus Malzahn going to be their offensive coordinator. They may be back next year. They can get a little bit of talent in there. They're going to have some good coaching and good vision on what they want to do next year. See if they can get the players to do it. And then Florida knocked off some teams they weren't supposed to knock off. Beat Ole Miss that absolutely drubbed us. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't believe the answer is Sam Pittman. I don't believe the answer is Hunter Yurachek at this point. But it's the end of football season, regular season. Time for conference championships, getting ready for bowl games. We're going to probably either Birmingham or Memphis. Nothing to write home about. The one good thing from that is, yes, we get extra practices, get these young guys some more reps. Highly doubt we're going to see a few players. Let me rephrase that. I highly doubt some players like Landon Jackson, Andrew Armstrong, players with pro intentions that are going to get drafted this year. Wouldn't be surprised to see them set out, especially after that scary injury that Landon Jackson had yesterday against Mizzou. All updates I've seen, he's doing well. It was a precautionary trip to the hospital. He was back in street clothes in the locker room after the game, so that's good to hear. But it's portal time, and I'll be talking about the portal a lot on my shows over the next few weeks. Right now, confirmed portal entries from the University of Arkansas. Offensive lineman Amari Wiggins announced he's hitting the transfer portal. Wide receiver Davion Dozier has already announced he is hitting the portal. Obviously, your tight ends, Ty Washington and Varkees Gums, told they weren't on the team anymore by Coach Pittman. So if they want to keep playing football, their only option is to hit the portal. And then Jadion Wilson hit the portal after UAPB earlier this year. He is going to UCLA from everything I've seen. Now, here's something where I want some fan feedback. Let me know what y'all got to say about this. I am not basing this on any inside information. This is just watching the season go down, seeing how things are done. These are some potential transfers, is what I have them labeled. I hope these guys don't transfer, but it will not surprise me if I see their name hit the portal. We're going to start out with QB, Malachi Singleton. I think if we're not going to open up a legit quarterback battle at the start of next season and give Malachi a chance to show that, yeah, I'm not 6'7" and I can't run the way that Taylon Green runs, but I can read a defense better. I can make better throws. I can be more accurate. I really would have liked to see Malachi a little bit more this year. He was rusty, but he needs in-game snaps. But I would hate to see him leave, but I wouldn't rule it out because if he's going to have to set a whole nother year behind Taylon Green, and then you got to remember, we've got another KJ, redshirt freshman. Well, he redshirted this year, I'm sure. But freshman, he's going to be looking to get some playing time down the road and being molded into the player that Coach Petrino wants for his offense. Moving on from that, I don't really expect to see Taylon Green transfer. I think he's got a pretty cushy gig there. Would like to see some improvement. He's the quarterback he's been his whole career. Not saying he's a bad quarterback, but there are better out there for sure. One that really scares me. These next two really concern me. The two after that, a little bit, but not as much. Tight end Luke has. Uh, he battled some injury this year, underutilized this year a lot. Uh, Talon really seemed like he only wanted to throw the ball to either Tyrone Broden or Andrew Washington. Broden couldn't catch anything. Has had a lot of good plays. Satania had a few drops this year, but he had some good plays. And to me, the second best wide receiver on the team is Isaac Tesla. I think he had one, maybe two drops throughout the season, but if you threw it his way, he grabbed it. The kid's got talent. He's got good hands. Really needed to see more of him this season. I think he's got one more year left. I hope to see him come back. I don't have him on my potential transfer list, but that's one that could be added. He showed enough spurts of good things that I think somebody who would utilize him might slide in his DM, so to say, talk a little bit of NIL. The other one is the one that really aggravates me, and I hope I am very wrong on this, but running back Braylon Russell. What happened to Braylon Russell? He had freshman game of the year against Mississippi State. Tweaked his hamstring a little bit on the end of that long run towards the end of that game. Didn't quite look right the next week against, I think it was Ole Miss the next week. And then we never really seen him the rest of the year. He was on the availability report. They said he was doubtful, questionable, whatever they want to put on there. I don't trust the availability reports, especially coming from our athletic department. But then he tweets after a game. I believe it was the La Tech game. Hey, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. Why isn't he getting snaps then? Yeah, he's big. Yeah, he's a freshman. But people get scared of him. They do not want to try to tackle Braylon Russell. 250 yards, 250 pounds coming at you full speed. I don't care how big a boy you are. That's a little scary. And Braylon wasn't afraid to knock somebody over on his way to get where he was going. I really hope to see Braylon Russell back. I think he could be a feature back in this backfield. But Quentin Jackson's out of eligibility. DeBinion, I hadn't heard anything on his injury, so I'm not sure where he's going to be sitting. But really would like to have Braylon Russell in a Razorback uniform next year. Offensive lineman, this one's kind of a long shot, but I feel like just the way it was done, Patrick Kudus may be hitting the portal. He worked it to where he got to keep his red shirt, which if he's going to be here, that's great. That means we get him another year. But if he's just going to take that year of eligibility and go play for someone else, really would have liked to seen him in there more because I'm sorry, Blackstock, not an SEC caliber offensive lineman. Tried to defend him early in the year because he was playing out of position at tackle when he's a guard. So I cut him a little slack there. Well, then they move it around. They put him at guard, and he's just as bad at guard. I mean, he was letting La Tech run through him. They're not an SEC school. Granted, they have a good defense, but when you can't stop G5 schools from getting through your line, you damn sure ain't going to stop an SEC school from getting through the line. And then the final one I have on potential transfers, and I think the writing's kind of on the wall with this one. I think everybody's seen it coming. Jalen Braxton. The injury reports didn't make any sense. To me personally, the injury was moving based on what we were being told. I think he is just protecting his eligibility. I look for him to go elsewhere. Me personally, I'm still extremely salty that Pooh Paul's at Ole Miss and Snacks Johnson is at Baylor. And people come at me all the time. Well, they had more money or they must have done something wrong. We've got NIL money. no, we may not have as much as as some of the bigger other schools, but we've got NIL money. We need it to be managed correctly. I think that is the biggest problem with our coaching staff, and it starts with Sam Pittman. Is a mismanagement of NIL and a mismanagement of playing time. Uh, you got kids out there that when they get their chance to shine, they do good. They do great things. And then they get set on the bench. Last year, I can't remember the player, but I know there was a big ordeal about just needed a little bit more time, would have hit 100 tackles. Didn't let him play to get that 100 tackles. Uh, I don't know what the situation is. I'm not at the university. I'm not employed by the university. I don't see the books. But I feel like we have some NIL mismanagement going on at the University of Arkansas. To lose players like Snacks Johnson and Pooh Paul, two of your best defenders on the team, you really don't want to let that happen in the portal era. We did have some good portal additions this year. Shout out to Nico Slaughter. He done some great things. Just hitting people. Another one, he laid the wood on a hit yesterday against Mizzou. Worth coming up, big hits. But still a lot of room for improvement. And God forbid, can we get rid of the Flappy Bird such celebration? I am so sick of the Flappy Bird celebration, and I know a lot of the fan base is too. Especially when you're doing a celebration on a play that you did nothing to help the play end up the way it was. Now you go in there and you hawk one and knock it down or pick it off, do whatever you want. But when the pass is incomplete because the quarterback threw it 5 yards out of bounds, don't sit there and do the Flappy Bird on the sideline. I know kids want to celebrate, they want to have fun, they want to get that viral moment, and I'm all for that. But there were times this year when there were Flappy Bird celebrations, and it made us look like we had a low football IQ. And I hate to see that. We should be better than that. I know historically we're a 6 to 7 win team, but when you got pieces in place, we can do great things. Look at what Petrino done in his first stint. No, I don't expect to be 10-2 every year playing in this SEC, but I would like to have the hope of being 10-2. I don't want cheap Temu Wish.com t-shirts to celebrate 6 wins against a La Tech. I want good bowl games. I want our players to get to go somewhere they hadn't been. I want them to experience something other than Memphis or Birmingham. 21 when they went out to Raymond James Stadium to play Penn State. That was a great trip. As a big bowl game. They got some stuff out of that. And then we just fell off. But as we're wrapping up here on the inaugural episode of Hawg Huddle, I'm going to save my discontent and dissatisfaction with our coaching staff and our athletic department concerning football. Let me specify that. I'm not happy with the department when it concerns football. I think we're doing great in basketball. Women's basketball, I'm not happy about, but what can you do? First of all, you don't give your neighbor that high of a buyout. But second of all, you're in the situation now. There's nothing you can do. Baseball, DVH, nothing to worry about there. He's got his own thing going over there at Baum, and I have full faith in DVH. Softball, Coach Deifel, she's got it going on. Look to have another stout team this year in softball. So, like I said, the only thing I'm really dissatisfied with is the main moneymaker, football. And it also appears to be the main driver of fan morale, even though we've got a pretty good basketball team. the fan morale's just not there. We're not selling out Bud Walton. I went to the game against Little Rock. A lot of empty seats in there. Friday night before a home football game, there's no reason for that. It was cold, but it's warm in Bud. You got to get in there and fill the seats. I will be a little more understanding of the midweek games because I personally can't go to those, and I'm not going to throw a whole huge fit about games I can't go to. But remember, Kentucky's selling out Rupp, which holds more than Bud Walton. And every Kentucky game I've turned on TV, there ain't many seats in there that don't have a Bud in them. So, but that's going to wrap up what I got to talk about. I'll go into a little brief vision of Hawg Huddle. What I'd really like to see Hawg Huddle grow into, I want to be a live stream show eventually. I'd like to get some sponsors just to help with the behind the scenes cost. You think this is easy and you just jump on here and talk, and then you realize how much time you put into one of these shows and designing graphics and the cost of the platforms that you like to use. But I'm not asking anybody from sponsors. That'll come organically. If we get the viewers up there, then maybe somebody will want to sponsor. But I really want to give the fans somewhere to let their voices be heard, regardless if it is a sunshine pumper, pessimist, cynic, doom and gloom. I don't care what kind of fan you are. As long as you present your argument respectfully, you're not cussing people out, you're not taking personal shots at other people or players or coaches. Base it on results, base it on performance. Be able to back your point up with your beliefs. And I understand that not everybody's beliefs are the same, but I want to have somewhere where we can kind of talk about things and give our opinions and let it be known how we feel. I'm gonna let it known how I feel regardless. Just look at any of my interactions on Twitter or Facebook. But with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Be sure to check out the socials. Going to try to get some things going on TikTok. Be posting to YouTube. May even post the video of me recording these podcasts onto YouTube just so you can laugh at me and make fun of all the dumb things I do. But on that note, have a safe week, Hog fans, and we'll see you next Sunday for the next episode of Hawg Huddle. Have a good one. Let me take this opportunity to say thank you for listening to Hawg Huddle this week. Make sure and subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Tell your friends and follow us on socials. We're on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.